Well, it's official. Game on.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Former President Donald J. Trump again throwing his hat in the ring and declaring that he is running. Now, let me say, his speech last night, of course, which is being, eviscerated by NPR and the regular lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media for being, quote, boring, lifeless, etc., etc., etc. It's funny. He does a rally speech where, of course, he's fired up, the crowd's fired up, and he's just kind of rolling with it and having fun with the crowd, and the crowd's having fun with him. And, he gets his little one-liners in and his little zingers and his little nicknames that he comes up with for people. And the media immediately spins it as he's unhinged, he's unpresidential, he's unserious, etc., etc., etc. Last night, he was incredibly presidential. He was on point. He did a phenomenal job doing what was not done during this midterm election season. He painted a clear contrast, reminding people, hey, remember when I was in office and gas was $1.89 a gallon? Remember when I was in office and in October, after we had lifted all of lockdowns and shutdowns and the economy was roaring back and we had less than 1% inflation. Remember all that? Remember when Korea was not launching any missiles? Remember when we had decimated and ended the caliphate and we did it in 3 weeks? Remember when the world was virtually at peace? Remember when we had China on the run and they were paying us tariffs and they were leveling the playing field when it came to our trade deals and we got rid of the bad trade deals? Remember when we had the border under control? Remember when the illegal drugs coming into this country were at all-time low? Remember. In other words, he was saying very clearly, we handed over to the Biden administration a country that was leading and working, and everything that has happened since has nothing to do with a pandemic or economic downturns, quote unquote, around the world. It has everything to do with a liberal socialism policy. And the other nations that Biden likes to point to and says are faltering as well are nations that have bought into all of this globalistic bullhawk when it comes to climate change and the money laundering scheme known as Ukraine. It was a clear compare and contrast, and Donald Trump did a phenomenal job. Now, that said, faux pas news, formerly known as Fox News, they were doing cutaways during his speech. Because Hannity had to talk. Laura Ingraham had to talk. Talking about, we'll break back into a speech when news is made. The speech is news. So, like you, I watched it online. I found a place to stream it uninterrupted. And he was poised. He didn't take any, quote, cheap shots at anybody. He laid out a clear picture. Of course, while he's doing that, Mike Pence is on his book tour now saying that America needs new leadership and a fresh face besides Trump. Listen, Race Bannon, I pegged you 2 years before any scandal hit the Trump White House of quote-unquote insurrection. I pegged you 2 years into the Trump administration that you were the enemy within. You proved it during the pandemic. You were the one that brought Fauci in. You were the one that elevated Fauci. The two of you have been in cahoots together for more than a decade, traveling the world, talking about the need for worldwide inoculation. You were the enemy within that was undermining the Trump administration from jump, but always standing there with the smile and that fake, I must be supportive, etc., etc., etc. You are what you are, Mike Pence. You are a total and complete fraud. Do not give me and do not hide behind your phony Christianity. You are a fraud. Now, does that mean that this is going to be easy for Donald Trump? No. Let me tell you what's going to happen as we move forward. Obviously, the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media, though they're going to be constantly talking about, what an existential threat he is, yada, 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 they are loving this. They have something to talk about again. They love to talk about him. He was a ratings boon for them. So, and that way he just salvaged cable news like CNN and PMSNBC. But let me tell you what Republicans are going to do. They're in this, well, we like what Trump did, but we want Trump light. So we're going to hear a lot about DeSantis, and it's obvious that, Fox News, for the most part, has throwing their support, their propaganda machine is going to go in Ron DeSantis' favor. Okay, fine. And that's what's going to happen now for the next year, this back and forth between them. There might be a few other Republicans that are going to throw their hat in the ring here. Mike Pompeo, might as well stay home, Mike. You don't stand a chance. Mike Pence, stay home. You don't stand a chance. But nonetheless, there'll be some more Republican candidates who'll throw their hat in the ring. And, Trump will get out there on the campaign trail, and this will get interesting. And like I said, he's got to be careful. They're trying to Sarah Palin him. They're even trying to Bill Clinton him. Even though when Bill Clinton left office, he left with some of the highest approval ratings of any president. But the party had Clinton fatigue. Even Al Gore, when he was running, kind of distanced himself from Bill. Because, again, he felt that the American people and the party itself had Clinton fatigue. And, is there a reality that there could be a Trump fatigue? Well, not among, his absolute base. But there are those within the conservative ranks. I'm not talking about the rhinos. They're what they are. They're just corrupt and deceptive. They're part of the oligarch. They're part of the ruling class. They're just, Democrats dressed in Republican drag. That's what the Ben Shapiros are. That's what the Mitch McConnells are. That's what the Mitt Romneys are. That's what they are. But there are conservatives, Trump people, who are kind of looking in DeSantis' direction saying, gee, maybe this would be better. And I've already well said, and I'll say again, I don't want to do it in this monologue, of why Ron DeSantis would not be good as president at the national level. So all that's going to happen. You're going to even have some pundits saying, oh, this being a bloody, brutal primary for the Republicans is not good. Really? Our 2016 primaries were brutal, and Trump took it. Hillary Rodham Clinton had a brutal primary against Barack Obama. And Barack Obama came out on top, became president. Everybody had written off Joe Biden by August of 2020 as he was not a viable candidate to be president. He was hiding in his bunker. He wasn't coming out. He was away from everybody. And then all of a sudden, poof, as the primary season began to unfold, even states that he lost somehow were magically flipped back to him because the fix was in and it was going to be Biden. And it was a messy, nasty primary, but he came through it. He went on. So, is it going to be rough? Is Trump going to throw some more shots? Well, yeah, that's Donald Trump. That's his brand. But what he was spot on message, and I hope he sticks with this, the compare and contrast of what was happening and what was accomplished when he was president versus what Joe Biden has done. Now, understand also going forward, Mitch McConnell and the rhinos will be working behind the scenes. They will cut deals with the Democrats to make sure that Donald Trump does not become the president if he secures the nomination. Again, Mr. Trump's biggest threats are not what the Democrats do. It's what the rhinos will do. That's what we have to keep an eye on.